Onitsha Road. The governor who trekked the road from the junction down to St. John Mackay Anglican Primary School, Oshogbo, told residents that he decided to embark on the visit to have the first-hand information on the state of the road and level of infrastructural deficits in the school. The headmistress of the school, Mrs. Esther Ogundipe, while conducting the governor around the school, said most of the blocks of classrooms in the school were blown off by storm and abandoned by the previous governments. In his response, the governor assured the school head, who was moved to tears, that the school and the road will be part of the projects to be completed before the commemoration of his 100 days in the office. The Independent National Electoral Commission and International Press Center have called on Nigerians to join hands in the fight against disinformation and misinformation, which they said is a serious threat to the 2023 general elections. They made a call at a stakeholders meeting organized in Abuja by IPC lead partner of Component 4 of the European Union support to democratic governance in Nigeria Phase 2 project. No fewer than 40 stakeholders drawn from the media and the civil society organizations attended the event, chaired by Professor Jibril Ibrahim, chairman of the editorial board of Premium Times and senior fellow of Center for Democracy and Development, National Commissioner and chairman for Information and Voter Education Committee of INEC. Festus Okoye lamented that the spreading of fake news on a daily basis by unscrupulous individuals with the target of misinforming the electorate is posing serious threats to next year's polls. Executive Director of IPC, Larry Arogundade, said the stakeholders interface was centered on the countering electoral misinformation and disinformation, which may harm the 2023 general elections if left unchecked. Imo State Police Command says government launched an attack on the Independent National Electoral Commission office in Owerri, the state capital. Part of the building was damaged after it was touched by a firebomb. The State Police Public Relations Officer Mike Abatam, who confirmed the incident to newsmen, said 3 of the gunmen were killed while 2 firebombs were recovered from the scene. Abatam added that the attack occurred 8 days after another INEC office suffered an attack in the Olu local government area of the state. The Commission's office in Ebonyi, Osun, and Ogun states were also touched within the past 4 weeks, sparking fears that some people were plotting to derail the conduct of the 2023 general elections. Meanwhile, political parties have kicked against the new cash withdrawal limits introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria, stating that it could choke the political process. Parties including the People's Democratic Party, Social Democratic Party, Africa Democratic Congress, and African Democratic Party contended that the policy would affect the fundraising required by the candidates to sustain their campaigns ahead of the 2023 elections. Other political parties who also spoke include the African Action Alliance, Zenith Labour Party, and the All Progressives Grand Alliance, as they declared that it would impact the poor rural dwellers. Governor Ahmadu Fintiri of Adamawa State accused the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele of targeting the political class with the new cash withdrawal limit, which restricts over-the-counter cash withdrawal by individuals and companies to 100,000 naira and 500,000 naira respectively per week. Commenting on the circular, the Director of Strategic Communications National Election Management Committee of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Chief Dele Momodu, said the recent cash withdrawal policy announced would affect the party's funding activities, adding that if enforced, the policy will strangulate the political process. The Bankers Committees, comprising the Central Bank of Nigeria, Chief Executive Officers of Deposit Money Banks, and other financial institutions, have agreed to generate at least 500 billion naira in loans to exporters annually to nurture domestic production and grow export value in Nigeria. In a communique issued at the end of a two-day retreat held in Lagos, the committee pledged to support the operations of selected export terminals like Lekki Port, airports at Ogun and Kano. Realizing the tremendous progress has been made in generating non-oil export revenues in 2022, the Bankers Committee resolved that the Central Bank of Nigeria should continue to support import needs of Nigerians through the retail small and medium scale foreign exchange window on infrastructure. The retreat resolved to work through Infracore to fund the road project from Lekki to Ondo to facilitate the transportation of goods from Lagos-Lekki ports to other parts of the country. Key players in the fight against sexual and gender-based violence have called on well-meaning Nigerians to stand up against the rise in sexual and gender-based violence in the Nigerian society. Director Public Health Ministry of Health, Dr. Akim Bello, the Executive Secretary of Osun State Primary Health Care Board, Dr. Adebukola Olujide, stated this at the opening ceremony of sensitization of doctors and health workers on tools and guidelines for responding to victims of sexual and gender-based violence in Osogbo, Osun State capital. They maintained that the program is to sensitize doctors and health workers who are key players on tools and guidelines for responding to girls and women subjected to sexual and gender-based violence in the Nigerian society. Also in his remarks, the Director General, World Health Organization, Nigeria, Dr. Walter Molumbo, commended the Osun State government and the State Ministry of Health on the initiative put together to sensitize doctors and health workers on ways to tackle and fight against gender-based violence. The 7th Quadrennial and 8th State Delegates Conference of the Nigerian Union of Teachers, Osun State Wing, holds tomorrow morning. A release signed by the State Chairman of the NUT, Comrade Adekomi Adekunle, and the Secretary, Comrade Akin Adeojo, indicates that the Osun State Governor, Senator Ademola Adeleke, is the special guest of honor. The release enjoins all stakeholders, delegates, as well as teachers in the state to attend the conference built to hold at the NUT Hall, Iwo Ibadan Road, Osogbo, Osun State. And moving on to sport, the General Secretary of Confederation of African Football, Viron Monsego Umba, says Morocco's success in becoming the first African team to reach the World Cup 5 semi-finals can galvanize the continent. The Atlas Lions beat Portugal 1-0 to make history and will now face defending champions France in the last 4 in Qatar. However, Viron Mosengo Umba added that more investment and resources must be made available for other countries to match the achievements by the North Africans. According to him, the Moroccan result will for sure galvanize the entire continent and make African football more competitive to win the World Cup. He maintained that the support, both emotional and financial, helped Morocco reach both its first Women's African Cup of Nations final and qualify for the Women's World Cup earlier this year. He added that the men's team have been equally helped by the impressive facilities at the Mohammed VI training complex, which is unrivaled on the continent. Before Qatar, only Cameroon, Senegal, and Ghana reached the last 8 at the tournament, but Morocco's victory at the Al Thumama Stadium has written the history books. While on the foreign scene, the famous Congolese singer and dancer Chala Mwana has died at the age of 64. According to her producer and companion Claude Mashala, said the singer died in the early hours of today. Chala Mwana is considered the queen of Mutayashi, a traditional music and dance from her native Kasai region. She was famous for several songs such as Karibu, Yangu, Malu, and Shanzara. She had toured widely overseas won several awards on the national, continental, and global scene, and had recorded over 20 albums. Her music also appeared in the soundtrack of the popular 1987 Congolese musical film La Vie Seville and Aya of Yop City. Mohana, whose real name was Elizabeth Shala Mohana Muidike, was also often affectionately called Mamun National, which means the nation's mother, for her vocal defense of the rights of women and children in the Congolese parliament. Congolese people have been mourning her death, including former presidential candidate Seth Kwikune, who thanked her for her work and great contributions to the Congolese culture. And that ends the evening news on OSBC TV. Do join us at 7 for the major reports. Good evening.